Welcome back to Ghost Voice Diaries. Tonight's tale is painted in soft colors, but hides a terror you'll never forget. This is Pastel Horrors, written by Deep Sleep Dread. Are you ready to see the nightmare behind the sweetness? Argued otherwise. Was I losing my grip again? Was the isolation finally cracking me open? Or was something truly malevolent playing games with me? My great-aunt Elspeth, I barely remembered her. A recluse herself, whispered to be eccentric, perhaps even unstable. Had she experienced something similar here? Sorting through another box in the dusty attic, searching for anything, a journal, a letter, I found a child's drawing tucked inside an old photo album. It was done in crayon, depicting a crude, unnaturally tall rabbit figure with long, sharp ears and wide, staring eyes. It stood beside a weeping child, holding aloft a brightly colored egg. Around them, the trees were drawn like jagged teeth. Below it, in childish scrawl, was written, "The Easter Man sees." A chill, colder than the attic air, snaked down my spine. The Easter Man, not the Easter Bunny. The term itself felt loaded, sinister. Was this just a child's nightmare, or a record of something real? That evening, the skittering in the walls grew louder, frantic. It sounded like something larger now, scrabbling, desperate. And then came the whispering. Faint, grating, just at the edge of hearing. It seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, from the very air around me. I couldn't make out words, just the suggestion of a voice, insidious and cold. Panic clawed at my throat. I had to get out. I grabbed my keys, flung open the front door, and stopped dead. The porch was covered in eggs, dozens of them, in every sickly pastel shade imaginable, arranged in a spiral pattern leading from the woods to my doorstep. And in the center, directly in front of the door, sat the wicker basket. The lid was open. The eye was gone. My breath hitched. Where was it? I scanned the porch, the surrounding yard, the deepening shadows under the trees. Nothing. Just the silent, accusing army of eggs. The whispering seemed louder out here, swirling around me like unseen insects. The sweet, rotting floral smell was overpowering. I backed slowly into the cabin, slamming and bolting the door. My mind raced. The eye was gone. Had it taken it back? The Easter Man? Was the creature from the drawing real? Was it inside the walls? Or was it outside, leaving its grotesque offerings? I spent the rest of Friday huddled in the living room, clutching a heavy fireplace poker, lights blazing despite the hour. Every shadow seemed to writhe. Every noise sent jolts of adrenaline through me. I tried calling Dr. Eris, but the phone line was dead. Of course it was. The creeping sense of inevitability tightened its grip. I was trapped, isolated with this thing. Saturday passed in a blur of terror and exhaustion. No new eggs appeared, but the silence felt heavier, more watchful. The skittering in the walls ceased, replaced by an occasional soft tap-tap-tapping on the window panes, like fingernails or claws. I didn't dare look. I boarded up the small bathroom window with loose planks I found in the shed, my hammer blows echoing unnervingly in the stillness. I found myself thinking about Elspeth's drawing again. The tall rabbit, the weeping child, the ominous phrase, "The Easter Man sees." Was the child Elspeth herself? Had she been tormented by this entity? Maybe her eccentricity wasn't inherent. Maybe it was inflicted, a result of living under the gaze of the Easter Man. Maybe the cabin itself held the memory of that fear, and now it had latched on to me. Desperation gnawed at me. I needed proof, something concrete to anchor my sanity or confirm my terror. I went back to the attic, tearing through boxes with renewed urgency. Behind a stack of moth-eaten blankets, I found it. A small, leather-bound diary. Elspeth's. Her handwriting started neat, documenting mundane details of solitary life. But as the entries progressed, coinciding with springtime year after year, the writing became frantic, jagged. She wrote of gifts left on the porch, of pastel colors that felt wrong, of a tall shadow with long ears seen at the edge of the woods. She described a scratching at the door, whispers in the walls, and the feeling of being perpetually watched. It comes with the spring, one entry read, dated decades ago near Easter. It mimics the season, the rebirth, but it's old, older than the woods. It wants connection. It collects things, shiny things, living things. It left an egg today, perfectly blue, heavy. I think there's something inside. Another entry, years later. The Easter man is closer this year. I saw its face in the window reflection, all teeth and vacant eyes. It wants in. It whispers my name. Sometimes I think I invited it, long ago. A childhood game gone wrong. The last entry was short, almost illegible, dated Easter Sunday, 1978. It's in the house, found the loose board. Such long fingers, such pretty colors. Happy East. The ink trailed off into a jagged smear. My blood ran cold. It wasn't just me. It wasn't my grief, my breakdown. Elspeth had faced this, and she hadn't survived. It got in. It found a way. The loose board. I frantically scanned the attic floor, the walls. Where? Then I heard it. A faint scraping sound, coming not from the walls this time, but from the main floor below. Slow, deliberate scrapes, followed by a soft thump, like something being set down gently. Clutching the diary, I crept down the attic stairs, the poker held high. The house was silent again, but the air felt electric, charged with imminent violation. I moved towards the living room, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. Thump, thump. I peered around the doorframe. In the center of the room, bathed in the pale moonlight filtering through the grimy window, sat a single, enormous Easter egg. Easily 3 feet tall, it dwarfed the ones left outside. Its shell was a swirling mist of sickly pastels, pink, blue, yellow, green, blended like a child's finger painting. It seemed to pulse faintly, radiating that same cloying, rotten flower scent. As I watched, paralyzed by a mixture of terror and morbid curiosity, a thin crack appeared near the top. It zippered downwards with a soft crunch, splitting the grotesque beauty of the shell. Another crack appeared, then another, branching out like veins. The egg wobbled slightly. The scraping sound started again, louder now, coming from inside the giant egg. Something was hatching. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The scraping intensified, accompanied by wet, tearing sounds. The cracks widened, revealing glimpses of something dark and slick within. The pastel shell began to buckle inwards in places, pushed from within. That cloying sweetness intensified, becoming nauseating, thick enough to taste. My mind screamed at me to run, to smash the thing, to do anything. But I was rooted to the spot, a rabbit caught in the headlights of an oncoming nightmare. Elspeth's final words echoed in my head. It's in the house. It hadn't needed to break down the door or climb through a window. It had been delivered. A Trojan egg. The top of the shell finally gave way, pieces falling inwards with soft thuds. Slowly, agonizingly, something began to emerge. Not a chick, not a bunny, nothing familiar. First, a long, pale limb, impossibly thin, jointed at unnatural angles, ending in fingers that were far too long, tipped with sharp, yellowed claws. It flexed, scraping against the remaining shell. Then another appeared, equally grotesque. A head lifted from the jagged opening. It was vaguely rabbit-like in shape, but hideously elongated, skull-like, covered in patchy, colorless fur that barely concealed the glistening bone beneath. Its ears were long and pointed, twitching independently, ragged and torn at the edges. Worst of all were the eyes, or lack thereof. Empty sockets, dark and weeping a thick black pus, somehow conveyed a terrifying awareness, a focused malevolence. Its jaws stretched into a wide, contorted grin, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth stained with something dark. The Easter Man. It pulled itself further out of the shattered shell, its body unfolding like a stop-motion horror. Tall, emaciated, clad in what looked like tattered remnants of pastel fabric, fused with desiccated skin and patches of moldy fur. It moved with a jerky, unnatural gait, its limbs bending wrong, bones cracking audibly. It paused, its eyeless face slowly swiveling, scanning the room, fixing unerringly on me. The whispering started again, but this time it wasn't formless. It solidified into a voice, dry and rasping, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Found you. It took a step towards me, then another, its long claws clicking softly on the wooden floorboards. The fireplace poker felt laughably inadequate. This wasn't something you could fight with brute force. It was ancient, wrong, a perversion of nature and celebration. It had waited, patiently, nesting in the silence, feeding on the fear that saturated this place. My grief, my isolation, they hadn't just been symptoms, they had been bait. It raised one long skeletal hand, beckoning. In its palm, nestled like a grotesque jewel, was the milky white eye from the basket. It pulsed faintly. A gift. Run, the thought finally broke through the paralysis. I turned, stumbling backwards, heading for the kitchen, for the back door, anywhere. But my legs felt like lead. The creature moved with deceptive speed, its jerky movements covering the distance between us in horrifying seconds. I reached the kitchen doorway, fumbled for the knob on the back door. It was boarded up from the outside, I remembered with a fresh wave of despair. I was trapped. I spun around, poker raised defensively. The Easter Man filled the doorway, impossibly tall, its silhouette framed against the dim light of the living room. It tilted its head, the grin stretching wider, black ichor dripping onto the floor. Time for the hunt, it hissed. It lunged.
That was Pastel Horrors by Deep Sleep Dread. A reminder that not all horrors wear shadows. Some come dressed in pastel and smiles. If this story chilled you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more chilling tales on Ghost Voice Diaries. Until next time, keep your eyes open, especially when things look too perfect.